speak to anyone else, but then we realised it was something more than that. She paused. He'd read it. He'd read the diary. Matt said exactly. He had the diary for the best part of a month, and in that time he read and understood enough of it to know just what it was he had in his hands. Right now he's in London. We don't know where because he won't tell us. He has a house in Putney, but he's not there. As a matter of fact, there was a fire a few days ago. It may be connected. We don't know. William Martin has gone into hiding. How do you contact him? Richard asked. We don't. We didn't. He calls us. He has a mobile phone. We've tried to trace the calls, but without any luck until yesterday. All we know was that he was going to sell the dairy to the businessman, and we weren't even going to meet. But when he telephoned us again, I happened to talk. Happened to take the call. Miss Ashwood turned to Matt, and I mentioned you. May didn't know what to say. He's never met me. No, but he knows about the five, don't you see? He must have read about them in the diary, and the fact you're the one of them, Matt. He couldn't believe it when he told him, and he agreed at least to meet us, but he made one condition. He wants me to be there. Matt said he wants to meet you first alone. He's given us a place and time on Thursday, 3 days from now. We're just asking you for 1 day of your time, Fairbairn, said it. Morton sees you and believes you are who we say you are. Maybe then he'll sell us the dairy. Maybe he'll give it away. I honestly believe that he wishes now that he had never found it. He wants to be rid of it. We just have to give him an excuse, a good reason to end the diary to us. He gestured at Matt. You are the reason. All you have to do is meet him, nothing more. There was a long silence. At last Matt spoke. You keep on saying that I'm one of the five, he said, and maybe you're right. I don't really understand any of it, but now what happened at Raven's Gate? He paused again, but didn't want to get involved. He went on. I had enough the first time, and right now I just want to get on with my life, and I want to be left alone. You say it's just one meeting in London, just one meeting in London, but I know it won't happen that way. Once I get started, I won't be able to stop. Something else else will happen, and then something after that. I'm sorry you can find Morton without me. Why don't you just offer him more money? That seems to be all he wants. Matt, Susan Ashwood began. I'm sorry, Miss Ashwood. You can manage without me. You're going to have to, because I don't want to know. Richard stood up. I'm afraid that Afraid that it. He said, you're only ear because of an excess. Fabian snapped, and suddenly he was angry. His eyes were darker than ever. We pay for your school. We have made it possible for you to stay here. Maybe we should think again. We can manage without you. Now Richard was getting angry too. It wasn't a matter. Miss Ashwood got stiffy. No. Miss Ashwood got stiffness to ear feet. Fabian is wrong to threaten you. We come here with a request, and you have given us your answer. As you say, we must manage without you. She reached out and Fabian gave her his arm. But there is one thing I will add. She went on. She turned her empty eyes on Matt, and for a moment she sounded genuinely sad. You have made a decision, but you may have less chance when you think you can try to ignore who you are, but you may not be able to for much longer. You are central to what is happening, Matt. You and 4 others. I think you will have to accept it before too long. She nudged Fabian, and 2 of them left together. Richard waited until he heard the front door close, then he sank back into a chair. Well, I'm glad they're gone, he said, and I think you're absolutely right. By the way, what a creek trying to drag you back into all that. Well, it's not going to happen. They can get lost. Matt said nothing. You must be hungry, Richard went on. I managed to look into the supermarket. On the way over, there are 3 bags of food in the kitchen. What do you fancy for dinner? It took Matt a few moments to absorb what he had just heard. Richard had been shopping. It had to be the first. Now he remembered his surprise when he had arrived at the flat. Seeing Richard there at all, what happened? He asked. How come you're home so early? Richard struggled with, well, I was thinking about what you said this morning about me, and I realize you are right. I can't look after you when I'm travelling back and forth to Leeds all the time, so I threw a job in. What? That? No. How much the job meant to Richard? He was quite sure what to say. I just didn't want you to go back to the Leaf project, I said. I'd look after you, and that's what I'm going to do. I can always find a job in York. Richard sighed. Anyway, you're lucky I was here tonight. Did you really want to be left alone with Mr. and Mrs. Creepy? Do you really think it was okay to say? Matt asked. Of course it was. If you didn't want to go, then why should you? It's your choice, but you must do what you want. That's not what she said. She was wrong. You're safe here. Nothing's gonna happen while you're in York, except possibly poisoning. From food poisoning, I'm cooking tonight. 70 miles away on the M1, a man called Harry Shepherd was just coming out of a service station. He had started early in the day at a flex store and was on his way to Sheffield. As a darkness had fallen, he had stopped for a bite to eat and a cup of tea. He was only allowed to drive a certain distance without a break, and he liked this service station. There was a waitress. He always cut chattered to it. It was now probably dark as he drove out. Also, he had began to rain. He could see the streaks of water lighting up as they slanted across his headlamps. He slammed the engine into second gear, preparing to rejoin the motorway, and that was when he saw her standing on the slip road, one thumb out, the universal symbol of the hitchhiker. It wasn't something he saw very often. Those days, hitchhiking was considered too dangerous. Nobody in their right mind would get into a car or a truck with a stranger, not with so many weirdos around. And here was something else that was odd. The hitchhiker was a woman. She looked middle-aged. Too, she was whipped up in a coat that wasn't doing much to protect her from the rain, and was dragging over her collar. He could see the water running down the sides of her cheeks, and he felt sorry for her. Somehow she remembered him of his mother, who was who was now living on her own in a bedsit in Dublin. On a impulse, he took his foot off the accelerator, paused, and pressed the brake. He slowed down. The woman ran forward. Subscribe and bell, share, like, thank you, click on my screen. Watch my videos from start to finish. Click on thumbnail. Subscribe and bell, share, like, thank you.